I would like to post this to YouTube later, to the TYC YouTube. Is that okay, Adrian, Sam?
It's good for me.
So thank you, Adrian and Sam, for joining us very much. Thank you very much. We reached out to you, and you were very gracious in offering to give us even a mini workshop that you many times offer at the TYC meetings and the TYC during TYC workshops as well, at the APT meetings, the national meetings. And you offered to give us this mini workshop and to show and talk a bit about physport.org, that it's a good, wonderful resource for all of us. So if you don't mind introducing yourselves, that would be better than I can translate, so that I probably don't even know everything you do and all that you represent, but I would say the masterminds of physport.org. Hey, Kai. All right, Adrian.
I'll go first. I'm Adrian Madsen, and I am the Assistant Director of Physport. I have been working with Sam on Physport since 2013, where I started as a postdoc. I went to grad school and I studied physics education, did physics education research at Kansas State University, joined Physport as a postdoc, and then have just stuck around and done more and more projects on it for the last many, many years. Yeah, Sam, do you want to introduce yourself? She's the true mastermind. I've joined her in her great work.
You've become a mastermind.
Okay.
So I'm Sam McKagan. I'm the director, creator of Physport, and I sort of started thinking about creating something like Physport as a postdoc at the University of Colorado in 2008 or so, when I kept meeting physics faculty at conferences who had just learned about PER for the first time, and were like, this is so exciting, I want to learn more about PER, where do I go? And I'd say, I don't know, because there really wasn't any place to go. And so we created Physport as the place for physics faculty and teachers to learn about how to use education research in their classrooms. And I live in Seattle.
And I live in Longmont, Colorado. Awesome. So we have, we're going to show you a little bit of Physport and the Data Explorer specifically, and what that is and how to use it. And then we're going to break into small groups, and we have some sample data that Glenda shared with us, but it's anonymized, and so that you guys can actually try using this Data Explorer to try to understand what can you learn from, this is FCI data we're going to look at. And then in the end, we'll come back together and we'll have a bit of discussion. So to get started, I'm going to share my screen. So Physport is a big collaborative project. Like Sam said, this was her idea that she came up with many, many, many years ago. And through multiple rounds of NSF funding, we have built out a bunch of different pieces of it. We have a great team. We have a lot of different people we have worked with over time. And our goal is to support physics faculty in using research-based teaching and assessment in their class. Before we get too far, if you haven't registered for Physport yet, I mentioned this a little earlier, but you can go to physport.org. You can click on register, and Sam can verify you right away. So the resources on here are only available to verified educators, because there are actually things like assessment answer keys that you can find. So she is available to confirm that you're a registered educator right now. So feel free to do that in the background. Physport has a bunch of different kinds of things. So we have a bunch of information about teaching. We have expert recommendations, which are short articles about various issues in research in physics. There's workshops on here. But the thing you would need in order to use the Data Explorer is to have given some kind of research-based assessment in your class. And the great thing about Physport is we have almost all the research-based assessments in physics that you could want. So if you go onto Physport, there's a assessment tab, and you can click on this find assessments for your class. Let's see. And then there's a huge list of assessments. There's over 80 of these, and I think I have personally input the information for almost all 80 of these onto Fisport. And you can browse by content. You can look for problem solving, scientific reasoning, lab skills, beliefs. We also have a bunch of astronomy assessments. So if you end up teaching an intro astronomy course, most of these are multiple choice, but not necessarily. That's not some kind of a filter. You know, there's short answers, there's rubrics, there's observation protocols. If you were going to try to observe someone's teaching and you wanted something to help you do that. All of these have had research, you know, they're research based. So somebody has actually tested these questions with most likely students, had experts look at them. And so they're a different kind of assessment than something you just write yourself, because they've been tested over time and revised many different times. So this is where you would go to get one of these assessments. You can download the PDF itself, and then there's a whole back implementation guide, any of these ones that have the little blue flag with the apple, and it tells you, you know, how do you administer this? How long should it take? You know, how do you score it? Everything you need should be in these assessment resources. So the assessments, you know, resource, that thing I just showed you, it helps you figure out which assessment should I choose. It gives you information on how I should administer it. You can actually download most of those assessments. But after you've given one of these, a lot of times we've talked to faculty who feel a little overwhelmed by, like, what do I do now? How do I interpret the results? And I don't know if you've ever had the experience of, like, you have these spreadsheets and you're trying to understand, you know, first, are you scoring it right? And then, like, what do you do with the numbers? You know, what does this actually mean for your teaching? So we have developed something that we call the Data Explorer, which we're going to focus on in this workshop today, to help you actually do the analysis and then try to understand what it might mean. So on the assessment tab in Fisport, there's a box score and compare your results. If you go there, that's how you would get to the Data Explorer. And this is somewhere that you can visualize and compare your students' performance on research-based assessment instruments. So you can see a histogram of you can see a histogram of many things. This one shows you the normalized gain on the FCI for a particular class. It is a really quick and easy upload experience. Then you can explore your data and you can actually download the data again and any of the images you see. And we also have a report you can download. It's secure, it's easy, and hopefully it's powerful and helps you to do what you actually want to do with your data. One question a lot of faculty have is, like, I'm uploading my data, maybe it has my student IDs in it. You know, you need something to have the system match your students together. So we have worked with security experts to make sure that your identity is protected, your students' identities are protected. We use a one-way cryptographically secure transformation. So we're not actually storing your students' IDs anywhere. It's like it matches it, and then all that information is not stored. It's just used to make sure you can match, and we report on aggregate data. Hopefully it's easy, so you guys will actually get to try it today. We have worked and tested the system to make sure that, you know, it's a quick experience and it's powerful. So we will see, you can, you know, explore responses by questions or clusters. You can track classes over time. You can look at different demographics. And there's even some statistics built in that help you make comparisons between different courses or groups in your classes. And now we have all of these assessments available on the Data Explorer. So when it started, we just had a couple of these, but if you give any of these assessments in your classes, you can upload the information, well, the data to the Data Explorer and assess them. So now I'm just gonna show you what this looks like. So I am already logged in, but if you weren't logged in, you would have to log in or register and become a verified educator first. I'm gonna start by just showing you the visualizations, and then I'll go back and show you how you would upload. So I have already uploaded a whole bunch of data, and I'm just gonna choose a class. And the first thing you see here is a histogram of your class. We have normalized gain on the bottom, and then this black line represents the national average. So you can see kind of how your class looks compared to the national average of FCI data that we have in our back end. You can also look at score. And so this is like matched pre and post data. So you can see the national trend and you can see the trend here. You can mouse over and you can understand your mean, your median, the error. And on this side, you can toggle between percent and number. I like to look at normalized gain. I feel like that's a pretty clear picture of, you know, you're probably a bit higher than the national average here. If you scroll down, we actually tell you your students' normalized gain was this, and it is above average for interactive classes. We give you the effect size, your average scores, and then this blurb about recommendations we're still working on. But basically it says, you know, great teaching often results in higher scores. Here you can download a file of this data, or you can actually just download the image of this chart. And we've talked to faculty who are interested in using this kind of data in their tenure reports or assessment for your department reports, but you can actually just get that actual picture downloaded. This, I think, is my favorite tab. It says your course over time, but I want to start by just looking at the same data again, but we're just going to look at a bar chart. So it starts out a little boring. You know, we just get the effect size, one big bar there, but we can look at, oop, I picked the wrong one. Let me try that again. I had switched to the CLAS. I'm going back to a course with FCI data. So you can look, that's an awesome effect size. You can look at your normalized gain and you can see this black national average, and we can see, wow, even with the error bar, we're doing awesome. It's way above the national average. Then if you have uploaded any other data about your class, so like for this, I have major, gender, and section, I can actually split my data out and look at different aspects. So like here, we can see the biology majors are really doing great. And the physics majors are doing much lower than the biology majors in our class. And we could kind of think like, why would that be? If you scroll down again, this actually makes some comparisons between the different majors. So it says actually none of these are statistically different than any of the others, but we run the statistics on the back end so that you can, you know, actually make these comparisons. If you have a lot of different things there, you can zoom in and out onto different pieces. I'm not sure why that's not working exactly right. And here I could be like, actually, I want to look at gender, and I can see, you know, the females in my class. We can see if this is statistically, okay, it also says none of these are statistically different than each other, but they appear to be having larger normalized gain than the males in the class. So this one's great. And you can also actually compare your course over time. So I uploaded data from the same course in 2 different years. And I can see those are very similar in effect size and very similar in normalized gain. If I wanted to use this group by, I could say group by major. So now it's going to take all the physics majors from both semesters and lump them together, all the engineering majors from both semesters and lump them together. So I can kind of look at effects over time. And I think that is an awesome feature for small numbers, because you have, you know, a few, like 20 assessment results each semester. But if you wanted to look for larger trends, you can group different aspects together and see what that looks like. So we have another tab called breakdown by topic. And for
That's awesome. This one helped me a lot in my assessment reports.
yes, good. Yes, and any of these you can download. So you can download the histograms, you can download any of these course over times just by clicking on this image icon, and you'll get it.
That's what showed us that Newton's third law was really one of the hardest things for them to get the concept of. And yes, And vector addition also was hard.
Yeah. So on this breakdown by topic, for any assessment where the developer has said, you know, these are the questions that cluster together by concepts, you can look at your pre and post. And if you hover over it, you can see what questions are included and the average and standard deviation for those. There's also on the bottom, you can switch to question. So you can actually look at a question by question analysis of it. And then here, you know, we can move this over to kind of go and see like, wow, question 13, they had such a huge gain on. I really taught that one well. You know, question 12, it was about the same before, like at the beginning and the end of the semester. So if you were curious about the different questions in an assessment, you could look here. And if you had specific questions, you can still split the data when you're looking at this cluster. So, you know, if you were like, how does gender come into play when I'm looking at the different clusters of questions? You can get that information too. You can turn on and off any of the bars if there's a specific thing that you want to look at. And then, yeah, you can download this data and you can download this image whenever you want to do that. And then our last tab, we can compare multiple courses. So up here it says, you know, I'm just looking at one data set, but if I wanted to say, you know, I'm curious about how my FMCE data in this class compares to my FCI data here. You can pick different assessments in this tab. And so the only way to compare those is either look at effect size, or you can look at normalized gain and kind of try to understand how that looks even on different assessments. Let me see. Did I talk about all the different things? Oh, and then one more thing you can do is we have this button that says view report. And we are still working on this. That is not what I wanted to do. Wrong data set.
And one thing, the report is not actually live yet. Adrian can see it because she's an administrator. And
Coming
I just
soon.
talked to my developer this morning about this, and we will be getting that out soon. But
yes,
you
coming
won't be able
soon.
to actually see it today.
Download a report.
So
where
Adrian, just one question from Dean. Are you right-clicking to open those menus to choose different options? He wonders if you're right-clicking when you're like.
No, I'm not.
Or it's just the normal option you see. Okay.
Yeah, and
the gender, the major, etc.
Yeah. No, I am not right-clicking at all. I'm just doing the regular.
So the report's not available yet, but that summary, I remember the summary was always available.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, the summary is there.
And the recommendation, so the report's going to be an extended recommendation, etc.
It's kind of putting together different pieces of the data, and then there's a way to download it. And so yes, you can download the image, you can download the data, you can see all of this, but there's not a good way to download this information right now.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, and the report also, it puts it in context. So click on the report again, Adrian. It tells you like what the assessment is and what it means and some of the typical results on it. So the idea is that this is something that you could like print out and put in your tenure and promotion portfolio or whatever, and it gives background for your results and what they mean.
Yes,
absolutely. Awesome.
So yeah, we tried to put together, so for all of the assessments, if you look on the assessment page, we have pulled some typical results from the literature so that you can try to understand, like, what does this average normalized gain even mean? You know, what are the ranges? So that's included, and then some of your histograms, your summary, and then you can generate this report coming soon and download it. So those are the main pieces there. And then I wanted to show you, so this visualizer tab is where you see all the data visualized different ways. And then this data tab is where you can see all of the different data sets you have uploaded. And then you can look at it by classes, courses, instructors, or institutions. but usually it's probably your own, but in some departments, they have one person that is uploading everyone's data. And so they can look at, different instructors and sections, etc. So in order to actually get a file on here, you upload your data. Your file should have a header row that says what's in each column. And so our system tries to automatically understand what that is, but you confirm it. If you have any other student information that goes with it, you could upload that and then you can see it.
So Adrian, let me just two little points. One is that also if you are stuck, if you can find something, or if you would like, anyway, any questions you have, my personal experience is that your support has been amazing. I send an email to whoever can find there or contact us, and
yes,
next day or even less, I get a reply, and it's always so helpful. The other thing I wanted to ask is, when you're doing the comparisons with national data, is that the national data, can it be broken into 4-year institutions, 2-year institutions, high school?
So that's a great question.
Not yet.
I wanted to discuss that at the end, but yes, not yet. And then at the end of this, I wanted to kind of have that discussion, like what would be valuable for us to prioritize first. But I think the answer is, if you only have a limited number of 2-year college data in here, the anonymity set is too small. Like, we can't make it so that somebody else can find, can look at your classes, right? So we need a big amount of data so that, anybody, you can't find anybody's identity. And we just haven't gotten that yet for a lot of the different ways we would like to break the data down. But hopefully we will soon.
Because the national data is it's the average of all the people who've uploaded data. And so the more people to upload data, the more we're able to break it down into different categories without compromising anonymity. And we just haven't kind of worked through exactly which categories we can break it down into without compromising anonymity at this point.
So I want to make sure that the group has some time to actually practice this themselves. So I'm just going to quickly show how you would do this. So I have a data file. I'm going to upload it. I start by looking for my institution, and you just type in, I'm just picking a community college in my area. My data is not actually in the Data Explorer since I have a special account, but you start typing in, you put in your institution. If I was a new instructor, I would say create an instructor, and you just have to put your name in, but I will use my name. When I create a new course, you fill in your course name, your level, your subject, your population. I'm going to use one that I already, whoops. No, I'm not. I am going to say this is Physics 202. And it's an algebra-based course. It's mostly about mechanics, and it's non-science majors. And then a class is just like a specific year. So if this was summer 2021, and my course is about 6 weeks long. And for the group work today, you can skip all these yellow optional sections because we won't have time to fill them in. And then I say I am working with the FCI. This is the pre-test, and the sample document I'm giving you has about 20 rows. And that information will be available to you later as well. So once we kind of add our metadata, it has uploaded the file, and then it's asking, is this really your student ID column? Yes. Is this really major? You know, we have their gender, the highest level of math that they've taken before the course. You can use the slider down here. Yep, this is really answer 1. And then this says, it looks like the rest of the columns are the rest of the questions. Yes. So you don't have to go through all of those. It's processing my file. And then we do want to upload the post-test data because that's how you can actually get information about your gain.
Can I interrupt you for a second, please?
Yeah.
I have a question. So I haven't done this at all before. So is there, so I have a sheet with my students' data. So I have to enter everything one by one into a file, into a spreadsheet. And this, the ID number, major, etc. Is there a template that's there that I know what to put in my, where do I find that template?
So you're asking if we have like a template in Excel?
Yes,
Yeah.
because that would give me the correspondence, because this is asking you, oh, is this really your ID? So is it, do I just figure it out, ID, major, and then the questions, or, you know what I mean, as I'm creating my spreadsheet?
Yeah, I can try to answer that question. So there isn't a template because what we try to do is make the system smart enough to read your data in whatever format you have it.
Okay.
And there are times when we fail. It's not always smart enough, but we tested it on a lot of people's just actual data files that they use. Usually people have some kind of Excel spreadsheet that they keep it in. And as long as, so right up here, it has on the left side, it has file requirements. So it has to have a header row that says what's in its column. It has to have the individual student responses, and it has to have at least one column that student IDs are names, and one class per spreadsheet, and one assessment, or one pre-post pair per sheet. And so as long as it meets those requirements, we should be able to guess what's in it. And things like major and some of that other data is optional because not everybody has that. And so we try to kind of have the things, and then Adrian will show you the next part where it guesses what's in your column. And so then if it guesses wrong, like if you called it, if you, what?
Color or flavor.
Right. Like you might have different words that you use. You might not call it ID number. You might call it student ID. Yeah. And so we do our best to guess, but sometimes we're wrong, and then you can correct it if we guess wrong.
Thank you. So then it's up to me if how much information I want to put about my students in there.
And there's
exactly.
There's an option where you can just do like the answers on one of them, and then later you're like, oh, actually I care about, you know, the gender. So you can upload later a separate spreadsheet that's just like student ID, gender, and then our system will put it together for you. But the one thing you do have to know about your spreadsheet is about how many rows it has. And once again, you can skip the optional parts. So here, say I was like, you know, I had something here and I was like, it gives me all of these options. So it really is student ID here, but maybe it was really their full name. So you can correct whatever guess we make here by just clicking on the red X and then choosing something else. And any of these that have an arrow, you can expand them and you can look for more options. So let me make sure I have that at student ID. I made the spreadsheet easy so it would guess correctly. But you actually have to confirm the guesses, except once you get to the first question, it's like, yep, I got all the other questions. You don't have to go through and individually click those. So now it's matching the students. So it's looking for the student IDs and putting them together. And it says I also had course grade, highest level of math, gender, and major. And this is where you could upload another spreadsheet with more student information. So you can go back and do that later. And then you get a summary. And this says, you know, my pre had 19, my post had 16, but only 15 of those actually matched. So whenever we see matched data, we're going to see it for 15 students. And then from here, I can press visualize and get to these tabs. So what I am excited for is for you all to actually get into small groups and try using these sample data files. Unless if you have your own data, by all means, upload it. But let me give you the link. So I made a doc with instructions for how to do this. And so that we're not putting a bunch of sample data into the Data Explorer, we're going to use test accounts. So in breakout room one person can log into the Data Explorer using this email address, and the password is Data Explorer. In breakout room 2, somebody could log into the Data Explorer using this email address and Data Explorer. And then I would love if you could, one person could share their screen so that together you can kind of work through the process. And we want to answer questions like, what insights can you glean from this data? How would you adjust your teaching the following term based on your findings? And what other data would you need to triangulate these ideas? So we definitely don't recommend making huge, crazy decisions based on 15 students' FCI data. Like that's just one piece of, a little piece of your assessment puzzle, but we think that it can show you something about, you know, how your students are thinking about these questions. So the login, I am going to put this doc in the chat. Let's see. And everybody can open it, because once you go into your small groups, you will need that information. The sample files are linked in the document, so the person who shares their screen can download the pre and post test file. These are about 20 entries or 20 rows. This is FCI data. Skip optional things, but do upload the post test. And we'll have about 20 minutes to do this. So we'll pop into your rooms.
Adrian, we're super excited. Just 2 quick questions. Number one, if people have like ever scantrons with just the final FCI answer, can they still upload that if they don't have the answer per question? Like the, no.
No, we've talked about doing that, and that feature is not currently available. So you really do have to have the individual answers. And yeah, we've thought about various ways to try to get people's old scantrons in, and we just don't have a good solution to that, unfortunately. Yeah, it's a real problem.
There is another question, is do all uploads become part of the national data?
Yes.
Yes. And if so, how do you think this impacts the results of the compiled national data? I mean, it's just
so. Yeah, could you say more about the question?
Yeah.
I'll elaborate a little bit there since I wrote that question. During COVID, I and other people in my department have been giving the FCI basically over Qualtrics or over Google Forms. And so that means that we don't have the same way to judge, basically to prevent cheating and things like that. So when potentially, I don't know, tainted data gets uploaded, what sort of problems is that going to cause?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I mean, the whole question of data during COVID is a can of worms we could talk about for an hour, because in addition to, you know, the security issues, there's the fact that students are going through a global pandemic and probably suffering emotionally and physically and having economic challenges. So that's, it's hard to compare that data. And I think that would be, that is something that we should look into, is how does that particular thing impact our national data, and do we need to kind of keep that separate? And that would be, you know, so we do research projects on these questions about what's happening with our data in the Data Explorer, and that's something we should look into. But what you're pointing out is that it is kind of a selected set of data, and we do a lot of things to try to recruit as wide a variety of people as possible to upload data, and encourage people to upload as much as they can to make it more representative and all of that. We do, one of the reasons we're having you upload with a test account instead of your regular account is because we try to discourage people just kind of uploading silly data just for the sake of it. And we try to look for that, and we delete it if somebody writes to us and says, oh, I accidentally uploaded some garbage data. So if you do upload something that is not real data or duplicates or something, like, let us know and we'll take it out. But yeah, that is an issue for sure.
Great.
Thanks.
Before we do the breakout rooms, can I just ask, like, how many people here have, well, first, like, how many people have given one of these research-based assessments in their classes? I'm curious, like, show of hands
A lot.
thing, or yeah, whatever hand raising thing on that. Okay, so a lot of you, but not everybody. And how many people have uploaded data to the Data Explorer before? Okay, so not very many people.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Click on the link in the chat, the last Google Doc, and that is where, if you have that document, you will be successful. And you will now go into a breakout room for about 20 minutes, and Sam and I will pop through and see if you.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt one more time. I think only Glenda raised her hand. How many people actually have data to upload?
Anthony did. Anthony
too. Okay, so we have only 2 people who have data ready to upload.
And we have a
no, I think they raised their hands for they have uploaded data into.
Okay.
There's 2 people who have data uploaded. I don't think we asked how many people, like, yeah, how many people have data sitting on their computer that they'd like to upload right now?
If I could find my files, I would upload them.
It takes a while to prepare it. It does take a while, I think.
Yeah. I think we've tried a few times to have these workshops and encourage people to upload data in the workshop. And that's kind of always the answer that we get. It's like, oh, I don't know where it is on my computer. I have to get it ready, which is why what we're doing in the groups today is having you upload a sample data file that isn't yours so that you can just kind of walk through the process.
Okay.
And so again, to clarify, what we're going to do when we put you in the breakout rooms is that you download that sample data file from the document that Adrian shared, and then you'll log in with one of those test accounts, not with your own account that you just got verified, as some of you did, and then one person can upload it and share their screen. And so then other people can watch and discuss as you do that.
All right, thank you for clarifying.
Is it clear for everybody? Okay.
Okay, awesome. And Glenda, I'm good with the breakout room, so I will send everyone now.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
I want to go too. Am I going somewhere?
Did it not send you? Oh no. Okay.
Because the host, I have to send myself. I can show myself somewhere. Number 3, number 5.
Yes.
I'll go to number 5.
Okay.
Let me see. Oh God, how do I do
So you're
it?
gonna. Oh, can I send you to 5?
Can you do it? Yeah.
Where's your name?
At the very top.
Oh, that's so weird. Is it at the top? Okay, I can see the breakout rooms. I think you have to send yourself.
Got it. Let's see. Normally there is a link saying join, right? And I don't know
Yeah,
why I
that's
can
so weird.
join because I see join now. Yes, I'm.
My last name is also French.
Hello.
Oh, her last name actually was French.
Glenda, help us.
Hi, Glenda.
Let's see.
Hello,
Let's get the
girls.
data.
Oh, Glenda.
Glenda,
Okay.
help us.
Oh, God bless Glenda.
Yes.
It's okay, girl.
So we are room 5. So is it that Gmail? What's the Sam thing?
Yes.
Sam?
That should be on. Yes. Let's see here.
Okay, yeah.
Ta-da-dum, pa-da-dee, pa-da-dow, and we go with that, and we put this, and we say 5, and then what else? We go
And then
here.
what's the password?
Is here Data
Oh,
Explorer.
yes, Data Explorer. Okay.
Copied 1 space extra, which probably is going to be a problem. Log in. Let's see.
Okay.
Save password. It didn't like. Very good, because I copy pasted something that I shouldn't. Let me see. Data Explorer. Just that. I've been having trouble with these digits. Log in. What?
Okay.
Okay. Assessment.
Okay.
Goodness, Glenda, thank
Okay.
you. It would have
Assessment
taken us 10 minutes, that first part.
for
That's right.
upload now. Okay, so we're gonna upload.
FCI.
FCI.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, that's to download the FCI. Okay, don't worry. I always takes me some time when I
Okay,
have.
wait, slow down. Wait, whoa.
Okay, we're.
There you
Well,
go.
let me go back. Let me go back. Woo, 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 woo. This was
Thanks.
okay.
Okay.
Assessment, and then okay, let me click assessment again, and then here we're in the Data Explorer, and I say Explore,
Okay,
and then I say Upload now.
upload now.
And then this is all blah, 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 blah. I didn't need to, I click on that, it's
Oh.
just extra information. I say, don't need to show me this again, but you know, you gotta read for the, when it's the first time, basically she went over these things for us. And then I say, continue.
But
Glenda,
it's summer. Seeing it 5 times is
Yes.
good.
Yes,
Glenda.
yes,
In the other room I was in, they couldn't share their screens.
they couldn't share the screen.
Can you make me the host for a minute so I can try to fix that?
This is bad. Okay, so that is pretty, okay, very good. Let me go here. Thank you, Adrian.
No problem. I just popped on over.
And I need to make you the host and Adrian Moore. And I don't know, I have to get out of the room, I think, because I
Oh no.
cannot see you, how to make you, it says more. It seems that, yeah, I don't have a way to make you. And I have the share the screen so that everyone can ever share the screen.
Does it say
Multiple
that?
participants can share the screen. I've just clicked that and multiple participants can share simultaneously. Maybe that was fixed for them already now.
Okay, I'll go check.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, Anthony.
I think they turned it on.
Hello, guys.
Hello.
We were just
Glenda.
asking about screen sharing, but I think you figured you turned it on. Yeah, we could, yeah.
You can share the screen now. Very good. So let me go to another breakout room now.
And you're recording us here for some strange.
Sorry, girls, we're back.
Okay. So okay, where are you? Yes. Okay.
Okay, so now we click next.
Okay.
Yeah, we're fine.
Yep.
And now we need to upload a file that looks like this. There's going to be one first column with some identity so that we can match files and names. Then this is optional, whether you're going to have a column that says major or final grade or gender or anything else you'd like. But you don't need to even have this column. You can already start. Your second column can be already the answer to question 1, answer to question 2. And then there'll be 30 columns about that, right? So this is the file she's giving us. So this is optional. The ID is important. You need to have an ID because that's what you're going to be used to match whatever is the ID on the post and the pre files. You are not going to have maybe the same number of students in the post and the pre files, right? Because students drop, etc. So the way they're going to be matched is through this ID. So this ID should be unique, and you give whatever you want. If you don't want to give the college ID, etc., you put whatever. Major, this is totally optional. If you collected that, awesome. Gender, if you collected, awesome. If you didn't, don't worry. Then otherwise you would start here with answer 1 or question 1, answer to question 1, and they are
Glenda, I am so sorry.
yeah.
Being Pride Month, are there other choices for gender?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, we're gonna go back and talk to them about that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good point.
that's
a
a
good
very
point.
good question because yeah.
Yeah.
So wow. So no, I don't think they have that built in the system. It splits into just 2 columns really normally.
Okay.
And I do not collect gender data. I have not had the courage because there are so many studies that say that if you already say what you are, who you are, characterize yourself,
Yes, stereotype threat.
there is the stereotype threat that you will feel like you perform less.
Yes.
And I don't even
Yeah,
want to do that.
But you can find that, you can find that from the list of students. You don't have to ask them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? Whatever they declare themselves, you can actually
Yeah.
find when they register, they
Yeah.
they may or may not. Okay, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
but I think the college has the gender. When I look at the list of students, I can see from their transcript they have a gender.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I never ask really.
Yeah. So gender is something I would have to put by hand because I wouldn't like to put that in a questionnaire, but that's me.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that.
So then goes until answer 30. Okay, so let's insert this thing here. Let's choose file. And I already put this file on the my desktop here. So I'll say here, this is the file that I downloaded and put in the desk. Okay, so I'll say upload. And that's it, it's done successfully, blah, 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 next. But it says, so there's some things we can press now, sample, I don't know, I'll say it's a high school, well, it's a college. College
Oh
of,
gosh, there's so many choices.
I have no idea, College of Alameda.
It's the first one.
Create a submit school. Create instructor. Oh boy, do we have to do all the, I mean, I do all these when I'm going through it. I'm just gonna leave it like that. It had already an instructor.
Yes.
Create a new course, PHY 101.
Yeah. Good.
Okay, what does he
Do it
want?
all.
Short name 101.
I think some of them you don't have to. No, do you? You
Oh,
don't
the
have to
ones
put
with
in.
the asterisk, I have to.
Oh yeah, intro. Yeah, those.
Subject, mechanics,
Yeah.
population, non-science
Non-science.
majors. Let's do like that. But create a new class because you can have sessions in the terms and periods, etc. So I have to only do the parts that have to do with now they have asterisks. So okay, weeks, 8 weeks. I don't know. Okay, what else? All these are very
Keep the yellow.
Yeah.
but we can skip. Okay, very good. Okay. And you can go back and optimize the class and now choose an assessment. We want the FCI,
Right.
but it's wonderful. They have all these others. So which
You're doing the pre-test, right?
they're inserting the pretest.
Yeah.
How many rows of student data do we have?
That was 20, I think.
Yeah.
In the sample.
But even if we are a little bit wrong, this will figure itself out. Okay, pre-test, this is all the things you can answer later. Okay, yeah. And we say next.
Yeah.
All right, so is this a student ID? It is.
Yes,
So I'll
just
click on the
like-
green
yeah.
and say, you're correct, confirm, I confirm.
Maybe press
Okay, got it on the
guys.
right-hand side at the bottom.
Do you see
Go to
okay,
the right a
guys?
bit more. Oh,
Oh, okay, hold on. This
Or
is
whatever you did.
good.
Yeah.
This is the
Just
gender.
green.
yeah.
Check.
This is high level math, check. I'll keep going. Ba-da-da, ba-da-da. And then question 1, check. And then it says, it looks like all the remaining columns are questions to the FCI. Is that correct? Yes. And then it did all the rest is all green. And then I say done.
Mhm.
All right, we need to upload now the post because it's not as fun if you don't have anything to compare with. So let's go. Upload post data, okay?
Okay.
And do you see that later in the, let me clear, you can upload more student information. Say for the same file, if in the past, if you collected then gender later, and if you want to increase, put one more column and add that later, you can. Okay, upload post data. Let's go, browse.
And also, if you did like 2 different scenarios for teaching, like sometimes, I do more things here and then I see, I needed to add more stuff, but I didn't do it with one class. So maybe differentiating between how I presented things, just kind of see if it makes a difference or not.
All right, this is going to go faster because he was going to use some of the information we already had. So yes, Yes, I'm clicking, but it takes a while sometimes, Yes, and parari, parara. And finally came that question. It understood all the columns. I say done. When you're doing this on your own in your own data, you look at things a lot more carefully with time, right? And after you've done a few times, actually you're clicking, it's done. Okay, so we're ready. So we had 19 students taking the pre, only 16 taking the post test. So we're going to have only 16 data points for the whole analysis of pre and post if we need, okay? So actually only 15 were included in the analysis that matched because there was one.
Why? If you click on the why, does it say?
Due to answering less than 2/3 of the question. So that's great. So this is someone that gave up of the answering the FCI and said, whatever, I'm going to stop here. Or there wasn't enough time. It could be honestly that there wasn't enough time, but this is a lot, 2/3. So they only have 30 minutes to do it, right? So can I click on visualize?
Yes.
Okay. So one of the things that I used to ask them also is because I have a lot of instructors teaching these sections, and I wanted to share also the classes with the other instructors and get them all clustered together. And I ended up having to insert it all on my own account and so that I can handle, because we can't have groups so far. Well, let's see what they've created new, because this is a work in progress. They're always, because you would like to be able to cluster or see other people in your school, what they're doing. That would be interesting for me. So anyway, as you get in, you have already these tips that already guide you to what everything means. So mouse over the graph to see details, and there are tips, and we can just not show the tips, okay? So you could go about that another time. So as I browse, I see here, so that's my data, and the normalized gain is 0.19, which is not so great. But look at the error. I like this summary here. It's 0.19, but the error is 0.09, plus or minus 0.09, the standard deviation. And because there's a small number of students, 20 as well, so the error bars get high. And in black is then what would be the national average, the dashed black line, right? So how those two behave. It's very low little statistic, right, on the blue. So the moment you join, gather more classes and more, then you have more robust determination over here. But what this is saying is the benchmark for ineffective traditional lecture is a gain of 0.2. Okay, so this is not good. So there's these recommendations here saying, so we are 0.19 is too close to 0.2, is even below. So that means that you really have not used a lot of interactive engagement methods. Maybe again, the statistic in the error bar. So this is the one thing I wanted those two girls that are expert to also mention. So as you click on average gain, okay, and you see typical results. So there's a lot of great information here. They changed to this format. Don't like this format so much, but this paper by Von Korf is great. It's 31,000 students. And that's where this benchmark look at that, this graph really tells you a lot. So traditional methods of teaching that are not that effective have a normalized gain around, the average was 0.2. And if you do interactive engagement methods, your average is going to go to 0.4 or a little bit more than that. So that is symptomatic of saying that you're probably not having enough interactive engagement methods. However, let me see if let me click here where it says learn more, okay? I think that's the one. No, that's not the one. Sorry, girls, that's not the one I wanted. So I'm going to go back. The thing is, average gain. I'll click on the question mark by the side of average gain, okay? And it explains how average gain is calculated. And then says, learn more about how to calculate normalized gain and normalized gain and how we calculate. So when you click here, then it talks more about the issues, statistical issues of this tool. criticism of normalized gain. And one of the criticism is that if you have, if you have
Yeah,
very,
we had that talk, no?
yeah.
Later.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But the small statistics makes that error bar larger. It should be larger than the 0.09 there. So anyway, there's a lot to read here, but there is statistical, and this is not just biasing towards the preparation of the student, but it's just more statistically sensitive to the.
So Glenda, you entered everything by hand for yourself, right? Everything. So you went, how did you do it for collecting your data?
So I do this. I have my students in what?
We have to go.
I have my students use Blackboard, and they have the questions in Blackboard like a test. So I put the question, they take a test for 30 minutes.
Right.
And what comes out of Blackboard is already the columns with A, B, C, D. I made the test so that the answers are coming out good for me. I do have to edit some things still, like the ID, and just prepare a few things. But you know, when you make a test in Blackboard, you can customize the question in such a way that the outcomes are.
Could the data explorer be useful? You know, based on what you've seen, what do you wish it could do that it doesn't? And what would you like to track for To Your College data? So if you guys have any thoughts on that as people are returning, Sam and I would love to hear them. So people who are just returning, we just are basically at the hour. If you have to go, feel free to. We are so happy you could join us today. But the last thing Sam and I were hoping to get some feedback on is, you know, how could the Data Explorer be useful to you in your teaching? What do you wish it did that it doesn't do now? And are there things you would like to track specifically for To Your Colleges? And we would just love to hear from anybody who had another few minutes.
There's a great question there about the gender. I know when so it will take whatever categories of, it's not looking for specific categories of gender. It will use whatever categories you have in your file. So like if you have male, female, and other, those are the categories it'll put it in. So every distinct phrase that you put in there, it will take. Yeah.
Great question.
Yeah.
I think it would give you, what I noticed is that it could give you areas of focus, you know, to, if you are separating them, looking at them by topics, for example, you could see yourself making the topic more engaging if it is not coming out to be as you expected. So that I could see that advantage on that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what is specific would you like to track on TYC data? You mean of the extra information, such as major, we would like, it seems that preparation is important. We learned from Professor Coletta about Lawson's test and scientific reasoning and preparation levels of scientific reasoning, and how that can help explain some of, perhaps, I'm going to say something maybe biased on my side from my experience, but perhaps expected low scores that maybe our population of students on average will get. So whether is the reasoning, the scientific reasoning, that is a very impactful factor in all this. So we eventually would like to also collect something that can measure scientific reasoning, and that includes, if we have ever access to data such as GPA data, student GPA, student SAT scores or things like that, even though that may be complicated to get at community two-year colleges, but those seem to be very important, going to be important for us.
I was also thinking, because, I grew up in another country, and there, we start physics in the 9th grade. Everybody has physics 9, 10, 11, 12. So I was wondering, a question, for the group, like how many physics classes have you had before? Or I think even though I don't have a standardized test for that, but something like the amount of time of exposure also could be a factor. And I don't know how to address that or ask that.
So something about the preparation, like how much physics have you taken? Great.
Yeah.
There's a category that we use a lot at Santa Fe, which is first time in college. So asking about whether anybody else in the family has been in college before. And it's used a lot in our statistics. I don't know how to get it into something like a standardized testing situation, but it'd be useful to have that as a category, because I'm pretty sure we could get it. I could get it from our institution, but it's something we use a lot in our data analysis. I mean, not just for physics, but just for the college as a whole.
Great.
As well as being on financial aid as well. That's also something we have to consider.
I think the other important thing for a two-year college is most of our students, come in, they work, so they have been away from school for a long time compared to 4-year and or universities. So it would be good to ask, how long have you been away from college? So that effect would be important. They may have a strong physics, maths in the past, but that time gap would give us, that's a unique challenge for a community college. Yeah. College and universities get, traditional, just 18, 19-year-old, fresh, academics background in their mind, but ours are coming after. So it would be good to relate that one. It would be unique to us.
I think that could be really interesting too, because an adult who's had less formal education in the past 5 or 10 years may or may not more solidly hold their preconceptions that the pretest might demonstrate.
I guess we could also track how many credits they're taking. Are they full-time or part-time? I think we can get that information as well.
Wow, awesome.
Good. I'm curious, based on what you saw, does anyone now would consider using this with your data?
Yes.
Awesome. And if you get stuck at all, there's a feedback button that you can use, and the emails go to Sam and I, so you know who is actually answering them. You can also email Sam wrote in the chat editor at fisport.org, and that goes to Sam and I. And if we see your names there, we will be so happy, and we will write back right away and help you with whatever you need. Go ahead.
Just a quick question. So when we did this many years ago, when nobody was paying any attention, so I didn't have to ask any permission whatsoever. So I did a bunch of things. These days, things are a little more organized. And so we have a institutional review board, things like that. How does that fit in there? Have you had people asking about this particular?
Yeah, so we have an FAQ that talks about this, but we are under the Institutional Review Board of Kansas State University. And so they have reviewed everything, and the fact that we're not storing any student identifiers, they're like, this is okay. Like, you're not actually sharing your students' data with the world. It does go into this big giant aggregate, but there's no way to ever pull out who you are or who your students are. None of that is stored. But I can find a link where we explain this in more detail, and we have information you could give to your IRB. So Kansas State believes that their IRB covers anybody who wants to use this. Okay. But I know that there are different cautiousness levels of IRBs. Yeah. So we have information you could give to your IRB about our IRB and how they are thinking about it, in order to,
So we
yeah.
could use your IRB as a sort of protector for all of us in addition. And if because I don't think our IRB has a lot of experience with this. I don't think too many of my colleagues do anything with IRB at Santa Fe. So
Yeah.
if I ask, I'm just guessing, but I might be one or two people who ask this kind of thing. So they may look at us and say, wait a minute. Well, what worries me is they will say, oh, well, wait a minute, we have to review this. And it will take, a whole year before they figure out what to do.
Yeah.
And,
so I just put in the chat, we have an FAQ, and there's a question under for physics education researchers. Do you have IRB approval for this? And can you help me get IRB approval? My institution does not have IRB. What should I do? And so there's some answers there, but if you wanted us to send you IRB documents to share with your institution, you can email that editor at Fisport, and we're more than happy to send them something that speaks their language.
all right, sure.
That's Eleanor Sayre.
Yeah.
That's her name. Okay, so that's what my institution was asking. Give me a document or give me something from the institution that has gone through the review already.
Yeah, so she's our collaborator that we developed this and worked on a grant together with, and her IRB was the one that was covering this.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you all.
It's amazing. I loved it. Wow, that's me. I learned so much. You girls are so full of resources, so resourceful. I mean, even the IRB situation, we sometimes don't know who to ask. And yeah, I would go for you to ask you first.
Yeah.
And have FAQs about this.
Definitely. Yeah, so check out the FAQ and then email us with any other questions, and we can even try to facilitate it with your IRB if it starts getting hard for you.
Okay.
Great.
I think maybe in 3-4 months sometime we'll invite you back again once we are more into it. If you're open for that, would you be open for coming back? That would be great. Yeah, yes. Thank you. Once then we want to compare with each other and things like how do we put Glenda's and mine and compare it and things like that. So.
I just want to give one more plug. Sam and I have also been spending the last few years working on the Living Physics portal, which is teaching materials for physics for life science students. And it's not just if your whole class is life science, it's just if you want to add some disciplinary connections to life science. So that's another place you can look, and it's the same login as Fisport. And I am typing the URL here. So that's just another resource. And we really would love more to your college submissions of materials on the Living Physics portal. It's been dominated by four-year college classes, but there's only so many of those. There's so many to your college students who would benefit. So we would also be happy to come back and talk about that if there's any interest.
Wow, it's gonna take a while to process.
Awesome. Well, I will let you all go, and thank you so much for inviting us.
Thank you, Adrian.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
Wow. All right. Thank you.
So Glenda, you can ignore my email about the link.
Oh, I did something wrong. I did.
No, I didn't see your recent email, and then
No, and you couldn't get in.
it now.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I was okay. Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
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 Bye. Yeah.
Yeah, Theo helped me, and that note it's gonna happen.
Okay.
It's gonna happen.
Theo, I have a question for you, Theo.
Yeah.
Did you receive for the summer meeting? Did you have to do anything else? Because I had 3 invited speakers. 2 of them 2 months ago said, sorry, I can't, do it, etc. So one of them, I haven't heard anything. He had turned in everything on time, but did you hear anything? Do they contact us? This is my first time doing this.
Yeah. So Reagan and I usually sort of co-chair this, and APT is not good at figuring this out. So sometimes they send all the emails to me and sometimes they send them all to her.